Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you for joining me. If no one's told you today, you look fucking amazing. You look great. Well done. Good for you. Guys, I want to request, if you're okay doing it, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. It does help massively with the algorithm. It helps me reach more people, impact more people, and change more lives. And that's what I'm about today. So what I am here to do for you today is I'm actually going to be running through my top 5 self-development books. Now, just to make sure I'm clear for today's video, these are self-inner work. So healing, mindset, beliefs, changing the way that you view the world. It's not necessarily business. Like, I've got a ton of business books I can recommend. I've read over 100 books, listened to over 100 books. I do self-development every single day, whether it's reading, whether it's podcasts, whether it's mentorship, seminars, whatever it may be. And I've got my top 5 self-development. Again, inner stuff, working on you, which changed the way that I view the world and the man that I'm proud to be today. So I'm going to go through 5, and I've also got a list of 5 other ones that didn't quite make the list, but they have certainly changed my life. And it's obviously very hard to nail it down to 5, so I've done my absolute best, and I'm going to share with you what I got out of each of these books to give you just obviously some value for today, but also give you the inspiration to maybe go read these books yourselves. There is no links. I don't have any links to go buy any of them off me. But this is just, again, to give you some recommendations and obviously some value for today. So it was hard to put these in order because these are all very, very meaningful to me. What's changed the way that I view the world. So I'm going to start with number 1. So number 1, guys, this is in reverse order. So this would be number 5. And then I'm going to finish with the number 1 that's impacted my life. Number 5, put it on the screen for you. It is Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl. So that is definitely on there because it has significantly changed my life. It's a very small book. So for people that are getting into their, I guess, reading journey, there's literally 158 pages. It's a very small book. You can literally finish it in an afternoon. Very, very small book. But Viktor Frankl, so he went through a concentration camp in World War II. His brother, his father, his mother, and his sister and his partner, if I didn't say that, were all killed within a concentration camp in the gas chambers. He went through a concentration camp for 3 years. He shares full experiences of what they went through. You get one piece of bread for 3 days. You literally sleep in a room the size of this office. It's not a big office. And there'll be like 30 people in there, and you've got to literally stand up tall and kind of put your head on someone's shoulder because there's no room to lay down. There's no beds. If someone drops dead next to you because of the labor that they're going through, you can't stop. You just kind of look the other way and keep walking. It's very horrific. You've probably heard stories about what happened during that period. And the big concept of the book and the big takeaways is that the circumstances we go through don't dictate the meaning. We give meaning to the circumstances that we go through. So because the climax of the book from me anyways was him coming through he's a rare survivor of the Holocaust, of the World War II experience. And he comes through the other side with gratitude and inspiration to write this book and to help people, to give back to the world. And it's just the ultimate example of someone who went through more adversity or tribulation or pain or whatever you want to call it. He went through more struggles and horrific experiences that probably anyone that I can think of in history, and of course there's going to be other ones like that, but to go through what he's gone through or what he went through, to come out the other side with the meaning that he placed on what he went through, that he went through this, that he can endure this so that he can inspire other people, is such a fucking powerful lesson. Because we get caught in our own heads, and I'm definitely guilty of this, where we go through something, whether it's trauma, whether it's pain, whether it's abandonment, whether it's just something that is injustice and it was wrong and it hurt us. Your parents weren't there for you. You got abandoned, you got hurt, you got assaulted, you got whatever it may be. But then we hold on to it and we play and we stay in that victim mindset. I'm not here to dismiss anyone because I do a lot of work with trauma. I do a lot of work with healing. I do a lot of work with people working through their own shit. There's actually a book in here that I'm going to recommend that's going to help you do that today. But we give the meaning to circumstances. If you go through a breakup with a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a partner, it can be the best thing that's ever happened to you or the worst thing that's ever happened to you. The only difference is the meaning that you assign to it. What lessons have you gotten out of it? How has it helped you grow? How has it helped you become the man, the woman that you want to be, to live the life that you want? And this is just such an insane and prime example of how us as human beings with our frontal lobe, our neocortex, has the ability to critically think and therefore critically assign what things mean to us. The pain you've been through can give you the purpose to go change the world. Another person that comes to mind is Oprah Winfrey. I use her story all the time. She was sexually assaulted. Well, firstly, before that, she was born to a 14-year-old mother. Her mum was 14 years old when she gave birth to Oprah. She was sexually assaulted half a dozen times before the age of 14. She fell pregnant through one of those abuses, and she gave birth to a stillborn child at the age of 14. She was fired from jobs because of the color of her skin and what she looked like and who she was, and she went through more than what I've just shared today. And look who she's become. Now, to balance that out, do you need to go through things like that to become an Oprah Winfrey or to achieve very highly? No, you don't. But do you think that gives Oprah or anyone purpose, drive, meaning to do something about it? Abso-fucking-lutely. Greater the pain, greater the purpose. And that's where, when you heal through trauma, this ties into trauma work and why you can probably understand why I love this book, is the trauma, the pain, once healed, gives you strength. And that's the key. Once it's healed, if it's a fresh wound or it's a trauma or it's something you have not addressed yet, you haven't processed yet, then it's going to trigger you. You're going to get set off by it. You're going to play victim. You're going to allow it to hold you back. But once you do the inner work and you heal through it, it gives you absolute fucking strength. So again, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl, really awesome book. Highly recommend it. Go check it out. Amazing book. Second book. Now this is, it's not just for men, this book, but it's obviously you'll hear the name of it. It's called The Way of the Superior Man by David Deida. It's a really, really awesome book. And again, it's not just for men, but obviously it is geared more towards men or for masculine. So if you see yourself as the masculine energy or you have a masculine core about you where, I guess to give you a small version of masculine versus feminine energy, masculine is very goal-driven, black and white, structure, achieve, I guess no fluffing, beating around the bush. It's straight to the point. That's masculine energy. Feminine energy, I always think of the ocean. So the ocean is very flowy. It's like nature. It ebbs and it flows. And sometimes it's beautiful and sometimes it's so calm. And then sometimes it's like fucking cyclonic and it's very, very crazy. And that's feminine energy. And we both have both. I have feminine and masculine within me. And so do you. It's just which one is your core? Are you more masculine core or more feminine core? So this is, I guess, and he explains that in the book. If you're more of a masculine core person, this is geared towards you, but obviously understanding it so you can apply it to your relationship, because if you're a more feminine core person, you're probably going to attract a more masculine core person for your relationship. So it will definitely help out. So there's a lot of things that I've gotten out of this. I'm actually wanting to redo this because I read this a couple of years ago, but I guess the biggest thing that I've gotten out of this was, one, you've got to really find your purpose in life. You got to really get clear on your purpose. And this was something that actually was quite challenging. I made some videos on this and some people disagreed with this, but you must put your life's purpose and mission ahead of your relationship. I'm going to say that again. You must put your life's calling, your life's mission, your life's purpose ahead of your relationship. Because if you do the opposite, if you put your relationship before your life's mission, it's actually going to eat you up inside. You're going to become weaker. And the partner that you're doing it for, yes, they will probably like it in the short term. They're like, yay, I'm getting all this attention and he's sacrificing everything for me. He's putting me first. But deep down in that feminine core, a feminine energy, a feminine core wants a strong masculine who knows who he or she wants in life, where they're going, how they're going there, and they're willing to be like a warrior and do whatever the fuck it needs to be done to get there. So if you're sacrificing your life's mission, your life's calling for your relationship, it's actually weakening you as a man or a woman, depending on the masculine energy, but it's also deep down going to repel your partner. So it's counterintuitive because some people think the opposite. I've seen this with family members of mine, friends of mine, is they give up on their dreams, they give up on their calling, they give up on opening the business or starting the business or looking after their health, whatever it may be, to literally hang out with their partner all day. And it eats them up inside. It literally, again, it's nice short term, you get the short term fix, but long term, you're losing your passion. You're weakening yourself. So that was one of my biggest takeaways. Another big takeaway from this book, and it was something it's still challenging for me to this day. I'm still getting stronger with this. It's still a muscle that I'm gaining. But it's when you're feminine, going back to what I was talking about, the ocean, when the feminine energy is in their chaotic energy, when the emotions are high, where this can lead to arguments, this can lead to disagreements, but when there's a lot of chaotic feminine energy, a strong, empowered, embodied man, and again, I say man, for the purpose of this book, whenever I say man, I'm referring to man or woman, the masculine, okay? But just for ease of this video. So the man, when the feminine energy is being chaotic, they're literally giving you the opportunity to step up as a man, as a masculine, break through that feminine chaos and be present and heal that feminine energy. But most immature men or immature masculine, they get angry, they get fucking annoyed, they just get into an argument, they blame their partner, they say stop fucking being emotional, and they blame, when literally if you want to be a fucking strong, empowered man or masculine, is that you want to see those as opportunities for you to be better, for you to step up, for you to break through that feminine energy, chaos, and be that fucking rock that your feminine is actually crying out for. So that was one of my biggest takeaways. So again, it's a big book. I'm just giving obviously a quick rundown of some of these books, but there's a lot more in there. Another one that stands up for me as well, it was early on in the book. It talks about how you must live as if your father was dead. So a lot of men, and I'm guilty of this as well, is my father's still alive, but I was living a life based on how he wanted me to turn out. And I was living life on the way that he wanted me to pursue my life and create my life. And I know a lot of other gentlemen and again, ladies do that. So you want to live as if your father was dead. So you're not doing it out of, I guess, recognition or praise from him or whoever played that role for you. You're doing life based on your purpose, your mission, your vision, etc. So again, this obviously I'm just giving a quick couple takeaways from each of these books. That was the part that really stood out for me. All right, these books are awesome. I really love this one. So You're Not Broken. So by Dr. Sarah Woodhouse, break free of trauma and reclaim your life. So again, I do a lot of work with clients when it comes to trauma work, when it comes to healing work, when it comes to working on yourself and I guess healing those wounds that trigger you. And even one line that's near the start of the book really stood out to me is trauma is unprocessed memories. I'll say that again. Trauma is unprocessed memories. And if you literally just lean into that, is when we go through trauma, and there's 3 points that Sarah shares in this book. There's trauma, which is the event itself, where you experience high levels of threat and high levels of powerlessness to protect yourself. That's a very simplistic, I guess, definition of trauma. You've got traumatic reactions, which is what do you do to cope with the trauma when the trauma happens. So for some people, they go, again, smoke a cigarette, they go drink alcohol, they go disassociate. That was my way of doing things. They go scroll on their phone, they go avoid, whatever it may be. They have a way to cope with the trauma. And then you've got triggers. What triggers that trauma in you and therefore sets off that traumatic reaction? So she just really does a fucking awesome way of just simplifying trauma, giving you fucking practical tools of how to lean into trauma. Talks about buried trauma, talks about how you can start to process it, how you can start to put awareness on it. Something that aligns with me with this book is darkness is untranscended light. I'll say it again. Darkness is untranscended light. So if you've got trauma or darkness within you that's triggering you and making you very, I guess, up and down with your emotions because you're getting set off all the time, that darkness is light. It just hasn't been healed or processed yet to become light. So again, I do a lot of video, a lot of content, a lot of teachings on trauma, on healing, on inner work. And I use this term a lot, that your triggers, whatever triggers you the most, heals you the most. Because if you take what I just spoke about, then you've got those three parts: the trauma, traumatic reactions, and triggers. A trigger gives you awareness of where a trauma is. So if you can then change your perspective of, okay, every time I'm triggered, it's showing me where a trauma is that I can process. And once you process it or heal through it, this is where inner child work, healing, trauma work, healing through your wounds come into it. Once you heal through the trauma, you don't get triggered anymore. And that's why I'm like, wow, that's so fucking empowering. So now every time I'm triggered, so with all of my one-on-one clients that I work with and the events that I run, is I recommend when you get triggered, write it down. What triggered you today and what specifically triggered you? And where is that coming from? What have you been through, whether it's trauma or pain or past or whatever it may be? What have you been through that's getting triggered in this moment? And lean into that. Write it down, document it, journal on it, put awareness on it, meditate on it, and start to process it. Because once you've processed it, it's no longer a trauma. You're no longer triggered by it. So you're no longer set off, I should say. So really, really cool book. So You're Not Broken, Dr. Sarah Woodhouse. Highly, highly recommend. All right, this is a really awesome one. So this is my number 2 recommendation for self-development. So Dr. Wayne Dyer, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, Living the Wisdom of the Tao. Now, sometimes it's pronounced Tao or Tao. I pronounce it Tao anyways, Taoism. And it's really, really powerful. So I guess what I really got out of it, there's a lot of things around. There's probably 2 main things I got out of it, but again, it's a big book. It's quite a lengthy read, but it's really awesome. So he essentially takes the ancient scripture of the Tao Te Ching, which is where I guess Taoism really stems from. It's a 2,500-year-old scripture. Lao Tzu, if I pronounce that wrong, I probably just offended him. He's the one that wrote the scripture, and it's 2,500 years ago. It's an ancient Chinese scripture, and it's beautiful, and it's very poetic. It's quite challenging to understand it, to be honest with you. Like it's like poetry. It's like you're reading poetry, and what he does essentially is he'll do a verse. I think there's 81 or 82 verses of the Tao Te Ching, and he does one verse, and then he translates that into, I guess, modern language, into layman's terms of how can we apply it in our day-to-day life. And it's really powerful. I guess my biggest 2 takeaways from this book, he uses the example of water a lot. And this is about detachment. So detachment has been a huge lesson for me, and I really got this from this book. And it's all about not being needy of things in life, because whatever you need in life will control you. I've done a podcast on this. Whatever you're needy of life will control you. If you're needy of money, if you're needy of love, if you're needy of achievement, if you're needy of whatever it may be, whatever you're needy of, you will be easily manipulated, or you will do things that may not be within your best interest because you're desperate to get the thing that you need. So he uses this beautiful example that I love using now. If I had a bowl of water in front of me right now, and I was to put my hands in the water, and if I was to try squeeze and grab that water as tight as I can and squeeze as hard as I can to get that water, what would happen to the water? It would actually avoid my hands. I would actually get less of that. So I guess the analogy that he uses is the more that you try to get something, the more needy that you are to achieve something, the more it avoids you. The more it becomes a mirage. The more you chase after it, the less you're going to achieve it, the less you're going to actually get there. And you can apply that to relationships, you can apply that to money, you can apply that to your business. Obviously, there's a balance there, because some people think, okay, well then I'll just never want to achieve anything in my life and I'll do nothing with my life. No, I'm not saying that. The balance that I really have taken from that is get really clear on your vision, your purpose, the life that you want to create, your vision, your values. What do you really want to create with your life? Then be totally okay never having it. Be totally disconnected from needing to have it. And when you can live and manifest and create from a sense of detachment, you just seem to be in flow more. You're less needy, you're more present, and you're less attached to the outcome. And since doing this, I've achieved more than I ever have than when I went through kind of like an 8-year hustle phase, or probably 6-7 year hustle phase of my life, where I was so desperate to achieve things for status, for achievement, for accumulation. And it really, really has, and I actually achieved less than in that time. But now I'm, I guess, disconnected or unattached to the outcome. I'm achieving more, I'm making more ground, and I'm enjoying my life way more. So that was definitely a huge takeaway for me from this book. Detachment. Another one, it's all about ego, essentially. So I got a lot of, I guess, ego takeaways from this book. And he talks about leadership. He used a lot of leadership examples. And one that, this is another water example, be like water. If you use water, it's like all water is attracted to the ocean from like mountaintops and whatever ranges. It all comes down towards the ocean, because the ocean, obviously the bottom level of the world. And so I guess the analogy he uses in it, I'm probably butchering this lesson right now, but by staying below people, you actually attract them to you. So if you're in a leadership position, if you think you're above people and you're better than people and you're controlling of them, it makes them less attracted to you. It makes them less wanting to follow you. Yes, a leader needs to be strong and he or she needs to have vision, needs to be firm when you need to be firm. But if you think you're better and you're above your team and you're above other people, whether it's your relationship, your friendship, your business, whatever it may be, you're actually going to repel those people. So what does that look like in layman's terms? How do we apply that? Is like, for me anyways, with my team, it's like I don't get onto our team meetings or whenever I catch up with them and speak to them like they're below me. I'm on their same terms. In fact, I act below them sometimes. Hey, look, guys, we're looking to implement this system or this thing. We're wanting to do this thing a part of a team. We want to run an event. We want to do that. Look, guys, how would you guys run this? How would you guys implement this? I'm actually not an expert at this. I would love your help with this. Rather than trying to say, yes, I know what I'm doing. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. I'm the boss. I said this. We have to do this. Instead of being that sort of dictatorship style of leadership, it's about being okay. It's okay not being above people. It's okay not trying to be tough and be strong and whatever it may be. Again, there's balance to everything. There are times to be firm. There are times to hold your team accountable. There are times to be that style of leader. But a lot of people have this misperception of what leaders are meant to be like. They need to be dictatorships. They need to be controlling. They need to give orders all the time. And there's truth to that in moments. But a big takeaway from me was to be like water, be below, be humble, be quiet when it's time to be quiet. And that actually attracts more people to follow you. Obviously, live to your values. Obviously, follow through with what you say you're going to do. Be consistent. Show up as a leader, but don't be over controlling. This is quite a big read, so this is a longer book. There's how many pages are in here? There's 400-ish pages, 390 pages. And again, because he's translating the Tao Te Ching, it took me a longer read. This was a longer read for me because the Tao Te Ching is like poetry. So I had to read it like literally 3 or 4 times to really get my head wrapped around it. But again, really powerful book. Highly, highly recommend. All right, this is my number one. My number one self-development book to change the way you live life, to heal through your past, to let go, to stop holding on to shit. My number one recommendation is The Breakthrough Experience by Dr. John Demartini. This is my number one book. Whenever someone asks me, what's your number one recommendation? This is it. The Breakthrough Experience by Dr. John Demartini. Now, I can't oversell this more than I tried to, but it has changed my fucking life. It has changed my business. It has changed my relationship. It has changed my family. It has helped me heal through my past. It has helped me let go. It's built better relationships with my father, with my mum, with my siblings. It is my number one recommendation. So I guess the biggest overall takeaway, he literally, and this sounds like bullshit. This sounds like no way. This sounds like I'm talking absolute shit. He has his Demartini method in here. If you read this and literally, if you want to go, you obviously read the book and don't just jump to this page, but he has his process called the Demartini method. I believe it's like 100-page, 170 or give or take. And anyways, you go through this book. Here it is, 173. If you go through his Demartini method, and it's literally like here, if you go through this method, you will heal any fucking judgment you have. And that's trauma. That's holding on to shit. That is guilt. That is, whatever negative emotion you have towards any fucking human being, you follow this Demartini method and it will fix it forever. You will never need a therapist in your life. Now, just to balance that out, a lot of healing when it comes to therapy is actually being seen, heard, and loved unconditionally for who you are. So that's where a lot of the healing work does come from. But if you're looking for a process of how to literally heal, like if we go back and use the book I was talking about before, You're Not Broken, trauma is unprocessed memories, right? So how do you process it? This gives you that fucking formula of how to process. It's literally step by step by step by step of how to do it. And again, I get so excited about this because I read this and I've read this actually 3 times because it's so profound to me. It's fucking life-changing. I recommend it to everyone. I can't oversell it more. It's just honestly changed my life. So if you've got any judgment, and judgment's obviously a spectrum, you've got, I guess, you're holding on to something, you're angry, you're upset. It's because whatever you're holding on to is weighing you down. And if you just listen to that, it's quite profound. So the more you hold on to things, the more you attract more of it into your life. So, because whatever you focus on expands, whatever you focus on, you get more of. So if you've got anything you're holding on to, which includes trauma, which includes guilt, which includes anger, which includes whatever negative emotion you've got, if you want to learn how to let go, order this book. Read this book. It's called The Breakthrough Experience by Dr. John Demartini. It is my number one recommendation. So those are my 5 books, guys. My top 5 books. I'd love for you guys to get into it, read it, listen to it, and get the most value from it. Now, I've got 5 that I'm just going to recommend off the top of my head, that I've written down, of just extra books I'd recommend, okay? Again, this is self-development, not business development. I've got books for business, but this is my just self-inner work recommendations. Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Really awesome, just around how the power of the power that we had to make the body heals the body. So I'm not going to dive into it, but really, really good book. How to Do the Work. It's really, really awesome. I've ordered that and this book at the same time. I've read them both. I just honestly preferred this one a little bit more, but a really awesome book by Dr. Nicole LaPria. Really awesome book to get into. Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, if I said that correctly. All about self-image. How you see yourself is how you live. It's what you attract. If you see yourself as someone who's not good enough, that's the life you're going to attract, and that's the life you're going to live. The Enlightened Sex Manual. That's a really good book. If you really want to explore your sexuality with your partner, or just improve your sexual life, your sex life, your intimate life, it's actually the same author of The Way of the Superior Man by David Deida. So that's called The Enlightened Sex Manual. Really, really good. And then another book, it's actually by Dr. John Demartini as well. It's called The Values Factor. So that's just another one I'd recommend. He just talks about values and what values are. Really, really good book. I hope you got value from these guys. I hope you really enjoyed it. Go read them. If you've got any questions, whack them down below. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. What are your top 3 or just top 1 self-development book that has changed your life, impacted your life? I'm always looking for more books to add to my list. I hope that this was valuable for you. I'd love for you to comment down below. Love to have some engagement. Like the video if you haven't already. And if you want to share this with a friend, that'd be fantastic. If you're interested in working on yourself, investing into you from myself as a coach, as a mentor, to guide you through life, to create a life on your terms, to heal, to let go, to improve self-worth, to work on yourself, there is a link down below for a free strategy call with me. It is only for people that are ready to work on themselves. So if you're ready to work on yourself, there is a link down below for a free call with me. Thank you so much, guys. Much love. Have a beautiful day. Speak to you soon.